When I talk about magic, I'm talking about the small wonder of connecting with something larger than yourself, the energy around you, the energy of nature, and exploring that energy in order to effect change within yourself. The home is the feeling and the atmosphere and the energy that moves within it. This is how, when you move, for example, if you move from one home to another, when you move into that new place, there will be new energies associated with the area and whatever, but you still bring that feeling of home with you. Heat is made to warm the home. Fires, you couldn't let a fire go out because starting it again would take up a lot of fuel and a lot of energy, and in the meantime, you'd be pretty cold. So warmth and nourishment and light, those are key concepts that the hearth is associated with. And if you think about your practice and your daily activity, realize that those three ideas, they touch a lot of our lives. We are losing green space. What can you do in your daily life to recognize nature and touch nature? What are the things we can do? And yes, there are those moments of, oh, hey, the leaves are going by, or oh, the sun's angle has shifted. I need to move my monitor a bit because it's bouncing off. Rather than focusing on the fact that, oh, I can't see to work, you can reframe it. You don't have to change anything except how you're seeing it. Sometimes it's just being there and living your life and letting other people see you do it. Even if you're doing it quietly, you end up inspiring people on a day-to-day basis, even if they don't understand or expect you to be doing something big.
Welcome to your journey to find true tranquility with the Tranquility Magazine podcast. With your host, Jasmine Maya Royce. Today's episode featuring, you can find more information about Tranquility on our website, tranquilitymagazine.com.
So today I am so delighted to have Arin Murphy-Hiscock. She is a freelance writer and editor. She is the author of several popular books on witchcraft and nature-based spirituality, including The Green Witch, The House Witch, The Witch's Book of Self-Care, The Green Witch's Grimoire, and The Green Witch's Garden, as well as The Green Witch's Oracle decks, all of which have been translated into several languages. Arin has been following the nature-based spiritual path since the mid-90s and publishing books about it since 2005. Her main area of focus is helping people incorporate nature-based spiritual practice into everyday life. Arin identifies as a pagan and a witch, works as a priestess in her community, and gives occasional workshops and leads a private coven. Her hobbies include playing the cello and handspinning. But I am so delighted to have you today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So my first question is always, what is your current mantra or state of mind?
Currently, the mantra is one day at a time. And if even that's too big a chunk, 1 hour at a time. It's been a rough year. It's been a rough year for a lot of people. And it's these days, we're all juggling so much. And I don't mean just schedule-wise. I mean the energy flying around, the changes in the world around us, and a lot of us are very emotionally responsive to that. And it can take a lot out of you. So 1 hour at a time, if that's what you need, if the thought of an entire day is overwhelming, that I'm just going to take this next hour. And if that next hour means I'm just going to sit next to an open window and listen to the birds eating the serviceberry from my tree in the front yard before all the leaves fall, then that's what I'll do in this next hour. Or maybe I'll make a cup of tea and I'll sit down with my notebook and I'll either do some journaling or jot down some ideas for my next book. But the trick for me right now is not looking too far ahead because everything feels very overwhelming right now.
Mm-hmm.
So just one day at a time. And if that's too much, 1 hour at a time.
Mm. Wow, it just really hit home for me because I've been saying that for a while after the beginning of the year. It's been just a very interesting time period, and also for me in my personal life, that I couldn't agree with you more. Sitting and, kind of in that hour to focus on self and just be present in that moment is very important, but also it is overwhelming. And what you said kind of resonated with the idea that I'm empathic. So when you go into places that it could be way overwhelming to
Really can.
divulge which one is mine. Is that emotions mine? Is that yours? What is this? Like, do I need to? And we're going to talk about that because you have all the skill sets to kind of be in touch with self and understand. But because it's the fall season and I love it so much, and as we mentioned before, it's also one of yours, I think it's a great time to focus on one of your books that I chose to kind of revisit in a way, The House Witch, because this is that pinnacle time when the outside world is so much. And how do we get back in our home and our house in a basis to understand? So when you kind of start on this book and you do define the difference of a house and a home, and what are the differences so people would know?
A house is the place you live in. Like it's a structure. It's got nothing else emotionally attached to it or energy wise. The home is the feeling and the atmosphere and the energy that that moves within it.
Mm-hmm.
This is how when you move, for example, if you move from one home to another, when you move into that new place, there will be new energies associated with the area and whatever, but you still bring that feeling of home with you
Mm-hmm.
because it's the way you live your life. It's the emotional attachment to the activities you engage in the home. It's how you incorporate what you do in the home into your spiritual and emotional life. So it's the house is what you bring it to. The home is what you bring to the house. Does that
Mm-hmm.
make sense?
Yeah, you are, well, the harbinger of your own energy and the carrier of your own
You
emotions.
curate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like no matter how many times I travel, I still take myself with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't run from self, but you bring it with it. And then what you have in your vortex of energy is what your home becomes. Love, light, or darkness, anxiety, depression, either one of those will travel with you in ways. And so more of the emotivity on the home rather than the house is a structure that you pay for and you provide shelter and roof, foundation. But yes, so it makes sense to identify both of them so people would understand that you travel sometimes with your home
Yeah.
in ways.
Very much so. And I think it's also important in a world like we live in today, owning a home becomes ever more difficult and ever less achievable
Yes.
with the prices of houses and land going sky high and
Hmm.
people's wages not moving tied to inflation and the movement of the economy. So
Yeah.
even if you rent and even if you share a house with other people,
Hmm.
you still have that sort of spiritual core with you. It's not necessarily tied to the structure itself. The
Hmm.
structure itself will lend something to it, but the energy you curate is always going to be the home part.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, especially in the current timeline. And, we've been dealing with that for a while. I'm in California, so, and where I live is like an unreasonable idea of ownership of some regard for most people. So it is a very expensive community that I find myself residing in. And that's not saying that there's a plethora of people in the United States that don't have that option. And renting or living, especially what age you're at, amongst other individuals when you're at university or school, or you're just going out on your own, you end up, and I have been guilty of having so many roommates, flatmates, whatever you want to call it, which are great people, but also your room can be your home as well inside that space. So you explore the idea of the hearth and what that is and what it truly means in the English context of the history, but also describe your background on understanding this term and how people could find their own hearth in their home.
My modern interpretation of the hearth is kind of like the spiritual center of the house.
Hmm.
And I specifically mean spiritual center because your physical center of your house, you're not necessarily going to have an attachment to it.
Hmm.
So it's a place you choose to establish as the spiritual center of the home. It's a
Hmm.
place to go to reconnect to that energy you curate. It's a place you go to represent that aggregate of energy that you call the home.
Hmm.
And it can also be that place to touch deity, the divine, if
Hmm.
that's part of your practice, or even just the general spirit of the universe. Acknowledging that this is a portal, it's a place of connection.
Hmm.
It's a place of balance where you can tie it all together. And it's going to be different in every place.
Hmm.
If again, if you move, that spiritual center might not feel right if you try to set it up. For example, if you have a corner of your kitchen where you go, where you
Hmm.
sit, we were talking about sitting
Hmm.
and drinking tea and journaling, or sitting to just open yourself to the energy outside by an open window. And it might not be the same from one place to another,
Hmm.
especially if you travel a lot. We
Hmm.
were we were talking about bringing home with you. And if you're in another place for a period of time, setting up a sort of a temporary spiritual center,
Hmm.
lack of a better term, can be a great way to anchor yourself, especially if you think of it as being that sort of portal, that connection to the place you have at home.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
there's a way to connect to that home energy even if you are elsewhere. So traditionally, the hearth is a place where food is cooked, where heat is made to warm the home.
Hmm.
Fires used to not, you couldn't let a fire go out because starting it again would take up a lot of
Hmm.
fuel and a lot of energy. And in the meantime, you'd be pretty cold. So, so warmth and nourishment and light,
Hmm.
those are key concepts that the hearth is associated with. And if you think about your practice and your daily activity,
Hmm.
realize that those three ideas, they touch a lot of our lives.
Hmm.
We're very used to being able to flick on a light whenever we want. We're very used to being
Hmm.
able to toss something in the microwave.
Hmm.
But if you think about taking those actions and tying them into your spiritual practice, whether it be a formal practice of some kind or just the everyday, I'm touching the divine, I'm
Hmm.
touching the spirit of nature while I do these things, you realize that you do actually have contact with hearth-based activities a lot more
Hmm.
than you might initially think.
Yeah, I think it's so important in ways to what you referenced in a lot of your books are historical points and perspectives because, as always, I'm a history freak and I enjoy and endeavor to incline myself to know and put myself in previous shoes in a way that you were mentioning about having a hearth to keep the spirit or the energy or yourself warm enough. That would be a lot of, labor, and also you didn't have that much of, wood or coal or what it would be to make sure that your family was warm enough through fall, winter, and those times to make sure you could survive it. And I have kind of incorporated some of those in my own way that would resonate with what you said that I a kettle, like a touch kettle or one that on the stove, that's my like spiritual practice in a way because I think they're very easy because it has fire and it's also part of something I'm brewing something, which I think is
Yes.
great. And then we are lucky that electricity is a free commodity, not free, we all pay, but we also
It
like understand that it is
free
one,
access to it
yes,
once
free
it's
access.
plugged in. Exactly.
Better thing. I was like, and when you learn about certain perspectives, it's just like, thank you for the light. Like, just flicking on the switch to kind of make sure that you're appreciating tiny things because I was in a group of creators and we always said love and light. So it's like, thank you for the life today. Light is important. So you want those moments, but it resonates that we have and what your focus is on disorientated or not understand the appreciation of small commodities as much. We just think that's part of life where it is, but you still have to pay for it, or you still have to understand how valuable it would be if you didn't have access to it, or you're struggling to do just to pay the bills. And so it is one of those things that is important to understand and the history behind it that so many people of our ancestors or people before have been in that same situation. They're just trying to get by, but also a little bit of gratitude goes a long way. So, in your words of the version of magic and what you kind of transpire to educate us about that word in its background and how you describe it, can you kind of express a little bit about that so people would better understand the term that you're using it for? Because I think words have power.
Words definitely do have power.
Hmm.
So much of pop culture presents magic as something instantaneous that if you just put the right things together, something magical will occur.
Hmm.
And gosh, that would be nice. It would make things so much easier, that's for
Want to wiggle
sure.
my nose and make things happen? Kidding.
Right? But no, that's not what magic is. When I talk about magic,
Hmm.
I'm talking about the small wonder of connecting with something larger than yourself,
Hmm.
the energy around you, the energy of nature, and exploring that energy in order to use it to effect change within yourself.
Hmm.
Um, because magic isn't about creating sweeping external change.
Hmm.
It's about improving yourself.
Hmm.
It's about making yourself a better person, someone who can communicate better, someone who moves more smoothly
Hmm.
through life with less friction so that you can achieve more and become a better version of yourself.
Hmm.
So that means that most magic isn't flashy or immediately recognizable as magic. Like what I think of as small magics are we were talking about the touch kettle.
Hmm.
Thank you for the warmth. Thank you for the tea because I can't get through a day without tea.
Yes.
And a lot of it isn't just the caffeine. A lot of it is I mean, it is, but a lot of it is the act of making the cup of tea and
Mhm.
sitting down with the cup of tea and feeling the cup in my hands and thinking about my friend who put the tea blend together,
Mhm.
another friend who made the cup I'm drinking from. Um,
Mhm.
realizing that these things, I'm taking a small moment to reaffirm my connection with the world at large.
Mhm.
I am affirming that I am a part of something larger, and I
Mhm.
cannot function without that context. And I think that's something that a lot of people forget. A lot of people, we have our heads down so often, and we're just
Mhm.
pushing ahead to try to get through. And there may be an end goal, but why can't we have small victories along the way?
Mhm.
Why can't we pause and recognize that I did get through that hour?
Mhm.
I did take that time to have that cup of tea, and I feel more centered and more grounded as a result. And now I am a better person and in a better place to go forward and work on my larger goal.
Mhm.
I think it's really important to engage in sort of recognizing those small magics.
Mhm.
When you're walking from your car to the grocery store and the wind kicks up a little bit and you see a couple of leaves go by,
Mhm.
you smile.
Yeah.
Oh, there they go. You know, or oh hey, I was driving past that house and there's a rose. There's still a rose hanging on that bush,
Mhm.
and that makes me smile. And
Mhm.
that brings my energy up. But if your head is down and you're just focused on what you're going to be doing next,
Yeah.
you're missing these small beauties and these tiny miracles that are going on around you.
Mm.
And I think that's one of the things that feeds my own magics.
Yeah.
Recognizing that those small miracles are happening around us all the time and being open to them.
Mm.
That's something that there's so much misery and so much pain
Yeah.
going on around here. And those small moments in your daily life, if you don't take that split second
Mhm.
to look at something like that and appreciate it and welcome it, what's it all for?
Yeah, a very deep understanding, but also you are right that and why you are, identifying as a nature-based spirituality. Most people have lost touch with nature in general. And this is something that I think is very relevant in today's, drudgery and going by and just, trying to fix a problem that they're thinking too much and they're not present in the moment to see these occasional moments that nature will survive sometimes without us. And we are supposed to be some form of the gardener of, the world in regard to collected cultivating and connection with nature because that's where our food comes from. That's where our health comes from. This is where our air comes from. And there's so many elements in that to just take a moment and pause and see small nuances because in order for creation when you're talking about your magical pursuits and doing a ceremony of something in my experience I would say you need the right energy in order to do it, like you need to belief, faith, or appreciation, gratitude, mindfulness, whatever term you want to make it, just to get your head in the right space that you're willing to receive and open to receive the things that you're wishing for and make it to a presence that if you don't see these tiny little nuances throughout your day to shift your inner dialogue, you're just going to see all negativity, drudgery, and awfulness. And I think the world really right now needs a lot of that moments of tiny gratitude just to keep us above board for the rest of humanity that we can't solve all the world problem as an individual, but we can do one or two things a day that help to elevate the oneness of our world that we keep our, energy at a higher level if we can. Healers and spiritual workers, people like yourself, are the ones that are in the guiding light to give those moments to people to remind them about our time before time.
And the time between times too.
Yes.
It's one of those things where not all of life is big sweeping moments, right?
Yes.
Most of our lives are lived between those high points.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to see those small miracles, those small good things, and participate in them is part of what keeps us going. Those little drops of, yeah, you're doing okay. You're
Mm-hmm.
doing okay. They're little gifts,
Yeah.
you know, and it's I have a friend of mine. I was speaking with him at the beginning of the year. We were planning um a retreat
Mm.
to lead a retreat together. And I eventually had to back out because travel has become so difficult.
Yeah.
And I said, I feel terrible because this is a time when I want to be there for people. And I feel like I can't right now. And he said, sometimes it's not about the big workshops and the ceremonies and the things.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just being there and living your life and letting other people see you do it, even
Mm-hmm.
if you're doing it quietly,
Yeah.
because you end up inspiring people on a day-to-day basis, even if they don't understand or expect you to be doing something big.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the grocery store and you smile at the cashier,
Mm-hmm.
or you thank whoever's holding the door open for you, or you nod and you smile to someone as you pass them on the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
It's the small connections that remind us that we're human
Mm-hmm.
and we have the right to happiness. We
Yes.
have the right to safety.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the right to curate our own energy in such a way that happiness and safety and stability are are protected.
Yeah.
And if that means turning off the news for a little while,
Mm-hmm.
that's okay. Because we're talking about that curation, we're talking about that self-care.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about we mentioned we were talking about the hearth.
Mm-hmm.
So having that spiritual center of the home gives you that safe place to come back to.
Yes.
It gives you a place to return to rejuvenate and to refresh yourself
Mm-hmm.
before you step out again to do whatever work it is you need to do in the
Yeah.
world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons why curating the energy of your home is so important, because it is the place where you need to go to feel safe, to feel stable.
Mm-hmm.
And again, in today's world, a lot of people are feeling threatened in the places where they live, in their
Mm-hmm.
communities. And it's rough. It's
Mm-hmm.
incredibly rough. So being able to work on curating the energy of the place where you live to refresh you as much as possible under the circumstances is very valuable.
Yeah. I think it's your domain, your protection, your environment, your safe space, and understanding to identify with what it is and what it actually is, and how to now cultivate this environment to help protect you or feel safe, and then be with self and to understand that.
And
In your
that's going to be different for everyone too.
true.
And it's
Yeah.
also going to fluctuate depending on their circumstances
Mm,
and what's going on around them. So it's definitely not absolute, and it will be ongoing work.
yeah. And I think that's true. I mean, everyone. has experiences in different regards and being open to understanding. Not everyone's on the same journey. And I
Mm,
always say it's not about the destination, it's about the journey and being present for
exactly.
the journey because these are the moments that if you achieve a goal, and I spoke about this recently, if you achieve a goal, it's not what you think it would be. It doesn't
Never.
make itself known that you feel like, yay, I got everything I wanted in that moment. But it's like, yeah, you don't really sometimes. And that's a difficult lesson to learn. It doesn't mean you didn't achieve something, but sometimes it changes with the time and you have these expectations you think they're going to be, and they never really manifest that way because the universe is going to show you something. You're like, oh, I didn't know that this was that. And tiny achievable goals is what I say for creation is little tiny things that you need to pause and have thanks and have gratitude for those moments that you're like, I did okay today. I'm proud of me today. I liked what I did today. And it goes back to where we were talking about magic. I believe the duality of magic and creativity are where I focus to the idea that creativity, I don't care how old you are, I don't care where you live, I don't care what you practice or what you think or anything like that. This is a vortex of being human. Creativity is something you never want to lose and you never want to stop doing. So I don't, whatever vortex of time or space or understanding of your creativity, you need to find that. And this is what a magical practice can become for you. Be creative with it. And
Yes.
so you talk about, the idea of your spiritual headquarters in your house. What was that, the idea of creation for you specifically for setting up something like this in the act of?
For me, it was I needed a defined place in my house where I could go to stand and say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I needed a defined place where I could leave small offerings, and it it has grown as my family has grown older.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that space has evolved. It's become sort of an interactive family altar thing. Um, when my kids were actually they still do it now that they're teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
I found a great rock,
Mm-hmm.
bring it home, and they put it on the spiritual hearth of the
Yeah.
house.
Mm-hmm.
I found a snail shell. I'm going to put it on the spiritual hearth of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And it has become this wonderful interactive family space.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose that's partially because I've modeled certain behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I found an acorn. I'm going to bring it home and I'll put it on the spiritual hearth as, a representation of all the potential that's in the world around us.
Mm-hmm.
The mighty oak contained within the tiny acorn kind of a thing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to put it here and it'll remind me that so the kids, they'll come home and they'll just put anything on it. I found a shiny thing. I'm gonna add it to the aggregate of energy that makes this
Mm-hmm.
house a home.
Yeah.
So whereas it was originally a place for me to go, like a special place for me to go either to communicate with the greater energy around me or the
Mm-hmm.
divine, depending on the day, or even just the spirit of place, really has developed into this wonderful family aggregate of this is who we are, and
Mm-hmm.
these are the small gratitudes
Mm-hmm.
we have for the world around us. And it's sometimes I look at it and I go, oh my God, there's so much stuff there. It's so dusty and there's so much like the leaves are crumbling and and then at some point we're just gonna have to move it all and clean it.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me doesn't want to
Yeah.
because of that aggregate. And I know that the physical things are not the energy themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I know that. The kids know that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's all woven together to create this wonderful history of our
Mm-hmm.
family as in little statues and little paintings and memorabilia from our cats who have passed on and
Mm-hmm.
all these things. So I don't know whether I designed it so much as it grew.
Mm-hmm.
I had I said this is where it's going to be,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what I am initially going to use it for.
Mm-hmm.
But energy has its own ideas sometimes. And
True.
and yeah, it has just organically grown into something that I could never have designed and
Mm-hmm.
executed that well.
Well, that's a group mentality too. It's like you start something that everybody incorporates their own thing and it takes its own direction because you have a lot of different energies, adding to it. But also, I love the fact that awareness of nature. And so, when you're out on a walk or you go somewhere and you see something or you go on you go to the beach or you go to the woods or you go on a trip or something like that, you find these little magical tokens, especially when we're younger. For me, it was the beach, and you go find shells or you go find like little stones that have been watered down to like look like shiny pebbles. And then, it's very reminiscent of the idea of the joke that I used to say. I'm like, we're all raccoons. It's like, ooh, shiny. Like,
Tiny.
it's like, ooh, shiny thing. Like, I like this
My
shiny
kids are
thing.
definitely
And
magpie.
also crows. It's like, ooh, jewelry or anything like that. They love, little tiny tokens. And in that, it's just like an awareness of being amongst nature because little treasures or gifts from the world outside, because every day they create these things as part of being alive and living, and what plants and herbs and trees are amongst us. And the idea that, saying little gratitudes for what we eat and what we enjoy are part of living animals and beings and living plants as part of our way of understanding.
And it's a way
And
of acknowledging that connection and that being a member of that larger family of nature. I
Mhm,
acknowledge my place within this. I acknowledge my relationship and connection to you. And
mhm.
it's wonderful, especially when I watch my kids do it.
Yeah, I was
No.
like, you're imparting your truth to them, and yeah.
Yeah. And just watching them reach out and do it. Like I saw a wild rabbit today. Mom, come look, the squirrels are chasing each other around the backyard. Or, just things like that. I think I think if people let themselves do that a lot more
Mm.
often, we'd all be in better shape.
Yes. I think jokingly, there's a meme flying around that I laughingly was ingesting in the idea that we are the generation before technology when our
Mm.
youth. We
No,
had those
just
moments where you would be outside and you would play, and when the lights go on, you come home, or like you would be like, I jokingly called myself Tom Sawyer, that I was like planning my own trip down one river or something like that, in that exploration tone of experiences that we would like explore everything and take back tokens. And we were in the wild rather than the idea of digital detoxification that we need to do. And every generation now with kids have more experiences on some tablet or a phone than they do, and TV, than they do outside. As depends on your situation and who they are and their relationship. But I think it's a valuable understanding to have those moments that you are amongst nature and with nature rather than separating by technology. We
I
all love
think
technology, but not so much.
exactly. I mean, it can be incredibly helpful and incredibly valuable, but at the same time, I think we have to remember that we live in very urbanized areas. We are surrounded by so much technology, and a lot of people feel, well, their nature isn't around, I can't touch it.
Mm,
And that's one of the things that I've really been working on in the past few years of, well, we live in these highly urbanized areas. We are losing green space.
hmm.
Um, what can you do in your daily life to
Yeah.
recognize nature and touch nature? What are the things we can do? And yes, there are those moments of, oh, hey, the leaves are going by, or oh,
Hmm.
the sun's angle has shifted. I need to move my monitor a bit because it's
Mhm.
bouncing off rather
Yeah.
than focusing on the fact that, oh, I can't see to work.
Yeah.
You can reframe it. You don't have to change anything except how you're seeing it. The
Mm.
sun has moved, time has passed. I appreciate that the light is coming in. And it's a lot of it is just reframing how you see it. When you're walking down a street downtown, uh, our city in Montreal,
Mm-hmm.
there are trees on every street.
Mm-hmm.
And they do their best to keep them alive. And in some areas, we've got those big concrete planters
Yeah.
in the or on the median between
Mm-hmm.
lanes on the highways. They'll be full of plants and flowers in the
Mm-hmm.
growing season. And you realize that, okay, I may live in an urban area, but there are examples of nature around me,
Yes.
just not what my preconceived notion of it
Mm-hmm.
might be.
Mm-hmm.
So the trick is reframing how you're looking and finding those opportunities. If you're
Mm-hmm.
walking down the cracked sidewalk, weeds, what we call weeds, there is no
Mm-hmm.
classification of weed in the plant world. It's
That's
just
true.
it's our perception of that's an undesirable plant because it's taking
Mm-hmm.
nutrients from the plants I want to grow. We find little bits of weeds growing from cracks in the sidewalk
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
seeds that have stuck to a brick wall and
Mm-hmm.
are starting to grow green there or bits of moss. We don't expect to see them. We are not looking for them.
Yeah.
And therefore, we assume that they're not there. But they are.
Mm-hmm.
Pigeons.
Mm-hmm.
Pigeons in urban areas. Oh, what pests.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, they're there because humanity kind of abandoned them.
Yeah.
And so they became feral and
Mm-hmm.
they live around people because that's what they do. So, oh, there's that. There's a
Yeah.
pigeon flying by, or there's a group of seagulls wandering around in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's nature. Just because it doesn't match an idealistic
Mm-hmm.
concept of being out in the countryside doesn't mean nature isn't among us anyway. So it's a good challenge to say, okay, I'm gonna see if I can consciously observe nature 5 times this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I'm going to open my mind and I'm going to look around and, oh, this going by, that's nature. Oh, there's a spider over there, that's nature.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than something to, you know, they're not
Yeah.
allowed in my house, go away.
Yeah.
So it's the trick is to reframe because if we are nostalgic for something that doesn't exist anymore in
Mm-hmm.
a form that we can encounter and interact with,
Mm-hmm.
then we can't gain anything positive from that.
Mm.
So opening your mind and your awareness to what actually is out there and identifying it for what it is
Mm-hmm.
and appreciating it. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
it's a great exercise in gratitude, as we were talking about
Yeah.
before.
Mm-hmm.
But second of all, it will show you that yeah, nature is all around you.
Mm-hmm.
You just are looking for it in a different form that you're
Yeah.
probably not going to find. So it's a great challenge and
Mm-hmm.
it's a great way to reinforce that yes, you are still connected to nature. It's
Mm-hmm.
just manifesting in a slightly different way.
Yeah, I think, remind me in the idea that nature and weeds, as we say, not weeds, but are tenacious and they're everywhere and they are stubborn. And I like that as a mind state. Like, I am a stubborn weed. You can't get rid of me. Try it. And also, you found out later when you see, products with killing dandelions, and you figure out that dandelions are one of the most vital things to use for your gut health or elements like that, or you kind of I had arachnophobia as a child. I didn't really like spiders, but I was like, I hate mosquitoes, but I love you now, spiders. Because the mosquitoes tend to love me too much. And I was like, we're in a toxic relationship. We need to go somewhere else. But the spiders will back me up. So I was like, you live here because it's also that is the change of the seasons when I know that spiders are out. Now we're in fall. We've shifted gears that I can understand because where I live, it's not always that clear that it's a different season because it's summer so many times. But this one, it's nice that last year it was 110 and I couldn't get my head into fall where it's so hot and that's in Fahrenheit. So that's too hot for me to have those moments that I'm like, how do I get my mind into fall to figure it out when I'm baking? But that is the case when if you're in Australia, you have different seasons because the southern hemisphere has different seasons. I don't know if I could do, the winter season in summer. Maybe I'll get there if I was raised that way, but understanding that it's all about the mindset. And I discovered something that makes me laugh that no one in my family loves ants. They're like, no ants. This is how you get ants is a joking, like a thing out there. And then I learned automatic negative thoughts is the abbreviation for ants. So if you have ants, you need to exterminate your own ants in your mind. Get rid
I
of
like
your
that.
automatic negative thoughts and find something that you enjoy that you are present in that moment. And so
Exactly.
yeah, it
Yeah.
takes some time to get there, but it is fall. So I did want you to talk about it's the harvest season in ways that we are harvesting from. This is a rough year. And you've talked about bonfires, which I love and I do, the solstice that we just had, that letting go element of how you harvest what has happened in this year for individuals and what are some thought processes of the harvest season of practices we can think about doing to help us a little bit in where we are right now.
We've touched on gratitude a lot in this discussion. I'm not going to talk about that so much, but especially in a year like we've had,
Mm-hmm.
being able to reflect on what you've gone through
Mm-hmm.
and be thankful for the good things.
Mm-hmm.
Even the hard things sometimes have a touch of good in them. You learned something new.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes what we take away from something that wasn't successful is I tried a new thing. It didn't work, but I tried a new thing. Or I tried this thing a different way,
Mm-hmm.
and now I know that if I try it that way again, it will not work. So
Mm-hmm.
I have successfully attempted a new method, and
Mm-hmm.
I know that I do not have to try that again.
Mm.
So again, it's like a reframing thing.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's that. And I think fall, it is my favorite time of year.
Mm-hmm.
There is something about the light.
Mm-hmm.
And where I live, there are very defined seasons. We go from subarctic to subtropical
Mm-hmm.
in our temperature extremes. Um, but something I encourage people to do is take a good look at what is going on around you at any particular time of year,
Mm-hmm.
because you will be able over time to pick out what fall energy is like for you.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to identify that will
Mm-hmm.
go a long way to helping you know what to focus on in the future, like the next time it rolls around.
Mm-hmm.
Fall has that weird overlap of harvest
Mm-hmm.
and rush, rush, rush. We've got to get this stuff done before hard frosts happen or snow falls and we can't continue
Mm-hmm.
in places where there is snow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, so there's that rush, 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 but at the same time, there's a conscious decoupling
Mm-hmm.
from sort of the growing expansive energy that happens in the like between spring and fall.
Yeah.
And we start moving into the darker part of the year where there is a retraction because All of natural cycle is expansion and retraction and
Hmm.
expansion and retraction. And you can't have one without the other.
Yes.
So you have growth, and then you have cutback and dying, and then you
Hmm.
have dormancy.
Hmm.
And we tend to think of the winter season as being dead. Nothing's
Hmm.
happening. And all we have to do is just keep our heads down and get through it. And actually, there's so much going on.
Hmm.
The dormant season is incredibly rich in reflection and renewal and preparation for that upcoming expansion again.
Hmm.
So we have that busy, we've got to get everything done.
Hmm.
And then the other layer of I have to start pulling back. I have to start getting ready to release things.
Hmm.
I have to start I have to start turning inward.
Hmm.
And it's curious that, well, actually, it isn't curious. It's interesting
Hmm.
that at this time of year, we have community-based celebrations like Thanksgiving
Hmm.
and the holiday season in December, where there are so many different cultural celebrations going on around the winter solstice
Hmm.
that we're reminding ourselves that even though we are pulling back, even though in that dark part of the year where things are resting and taking that time to be quiet,
Hmm.
that we can reach out and remind ourselves that we are still connected,
Hmm.
even though we are not engaged in production
Yeah.
necessarily.
Hmm.
Because the natural cycle is so based on production,
Hmm.
like that growth expansion and then
Hmm.
the decomposition and gathering of energy for the next
Hmm.
sort of outward expansion again. Humans don't do that. We're wired to be human all the time.
Hmm.
But winter can be very challenging for a lot of us because
Hmm.
the elements mean that we are inside more.
Hmm.
Um, we see less of people unless we make the
Hmm.
effort to go out. We do have to have that fallow season. We do have to be like seeds
Hmm.
that need that rest, that need that cold in order to germinate again when the
Hmm.
time is right. So we may not tie it specifically to winter time, but in our own lives we do need that time to rest
Hmm.
and recharge and reflect.
Hmm.
And I think we push ourselves a lot more than we should.
Yes.
I think those quiet times are very important, both for our mental and emotional health, but also for our overall productivity.
Hmm.
Because you can't produce 100% of the time. You do need time to step back and ruminate and think and just not do anything huge for a while.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to burn yourself out, you're going to drain yourself, and then you're no good. Like you can't do the production, the productivity, and the creation that you want to engage in.
Hmm.
You need that time to nurture yourself and to be calm.
Yeah. I think it's important for what I say, rest, reset to blossom again.
Yes, exactly that.
So it's sometimes it's important that I identify as an ambivert. I'm half introverted and half extroverted. And some days I just need to, like, I'm going to go and reset myself somewhere else for a day or two or maybe more. And at the winter, I was like, I am out of energy, so I'm going to go and work on that because I think it's important to I'm in touch with self, but you don't always get there to understand the body is telling you that you need those breaks. You need those moments. You can't do everything. It's okay if you can't do everything. You're okay to say no.
Yes,
Most people
very
don't
much
learn the
so.
power of no until later. You're like, no, thank you, but maybe next time.
Yep. Yep,
Right.
exactly.
So it is important to understand. as you know, I live in a very fast-paced environment. We don't have off times. We don't have, sick days. People frown at you for most things. I miss in England when that was not a understanding where people were like, "Oh, you have a doctor's appointment? Okay, what time will you be back? Or are you not coming back today? Okay, we'll see you later." Like they don't have that in California. So we are like, yeah, you must be on death's doorstep to have a sick day. But after the pandemic, things have changed a little bit, but not always. And when you run your own business, as you are an understanding, being sick is a very bad thing. I always say if you're sick, that means you're not taking care of yourself or you took care of everybody else and you forgot about you.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I have a couple questions left to ask you. One would be, what is a question I should have asked that you think is relevant to share?
Trust yourself. Trust yourself. It's so hard to do. It is so hard to trust yourself because society conditions us to do what other people tell us to do,
Mm.
especially those of us who were socialized as women.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we were just talking about like the magic of saying no.
Mm-hmm.
It it took me a very, very long time to get to a point where I could say, you know what? I don't care what someone else thinks of me today.
Mm. Yeah.
I have to do this for me.
Mm.
And whether that means saying no
Mm-hmm.
or taking a stand about something or staying in bed,
Mm-hmm.
um, I will do that. And it's difficult, especially when you have a family,
Yeah.
because you want the rest of your family to have freedom to do what they want to do and to have the support to do the things they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you have to trust your gut and say, I I I need to do this
Mm-hmm.
instead. And there there have been a couple of major moments in my life where I did that. One of them was leaving a job with nothing else lined up.
Mm, big step.
It was a very, very big step because I was miserable
Mm-hmm.
and I was starting to develop health issues, which
Mm-hmm.
now looking back were part of a larger health issue, but it was being exacerbated by the job I was in. So I switched to freelance. I was very fortunate to have a supportive partner
Mm-hmm.
who was there for me. And then I returned the favor a few years ago when he left his perfectly good full-time job and did
Mm-hmm.
something different and sort of jumped in both feet and said, I don't know what's going to happen, but let's do it. So I think trusting yourself is a very difficult thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also really important to give yourself the opportunity to do it. We minimize ourselves a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And in the grand scheme of things,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't really make that much of a difference. I've learned
Mm-hmm.
that, if I don't make myself as palatable as I think the everybody around me needs me to be, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really make that much of a difference. It life keeps going. I keep doing the things, they keep doing their things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, trust yourself. You can do it.
Yeah, I mean, it takes people a long time to get to that point where you would hope it's faster every generation, but especially being a woman and the idea of guilt and concepts of, expectations of others and curating yourself to a mend of standards and all these expectations in a patriarchal society. We're like, I'm exhausted and I don't have anything to give. And you would want me not to show up when I have nothing to contribute. Rather, it was the reverse that you show up and then you're like, oh, I have nothing to input into whatever this is that we're doing right now because I'm just not here. Like, and, understanding to trust that your body's like, you need to rest. You can't push it. You can't keep going. And listening to that gut intuition to say, I told you. If you do it, you're like, oh, yeah. Years later, I figured out that one. I was like, but it's also the importance of no one thinks that much, and I hate to say this in a way, people think about you, but you will hope for the best ones. But people spend more time thinking about themselves than they do about you. So
Absolutely.
it's okay if you say no because their life will go on. They can whine and complain, but are you going to see them tomorrow or the next day? Or you meet a stranger and maybe they are offended by you. Okay, well then I'm
That's their
sorry.
choice.
And maybe you had a bad day that you're just projecting on a stranger or something. So there's different vortexes in following where you are in a way that you are still in self to understand that I need a break. I need a moment. I need to say no, or I need to trust me into that. But you did answer one of my questions already in the idea of what is the hardest takeaway from a lesson that you learned when you talked about becoming a freelancer. And every journalist and writer, in my opinion, because I am one of those terrifying leaps when you have a stable job because writing is a craft that everyone either wants to get in and it could be hard to do. And so becoming that is a unfounded course that you have no idea what you're going into. But
And everybody's path is going to be different too.
Mhm.
The way you get into it or the way that it unfolds, it's going to be different for everybody. Like, how did you get this started? Well, it's I could tell you, but it won't have any bearing on how you might get started.
True. And I was like, because most people, I understand the idea of a lot of women saying, "Oh, I'm gonna have a baby and I'm gonna write a book." And I was like,
No, you're not.
"Oh, okay. Well, I'll talk to you when that happens, but I wish you the best." And I was like, and we all want a little tiny goal when we have those breaks and you need a pivoting moment in your mind that you have those things that I'm still important, that I'm going to do something. And it can be a hard thing to get there. And everything takes time. Don't push it. It happens when it happens, and we can't control the universe sometimes or what our life decisions are. But you did answer that, but I want you to we'll reverse the questions. What is the best advice you've ever received?
Honestly, it was pretty recently, and it echoes something you said. Other people don't think about you as much as you think they do. I have spent a lot of my life absolutely paralyzed by social anxiety and fretting about how something I wrote or how something I said would be interpreted by other people. And someone I met very, very early on in my journey, another author,
Yeah.
somebody said to them, "Oh, I read that book. I didn't like it."
Oh,
And she laughed and she said, "I didn't
wow.
write it for you, darling."
Yes.
And I went, "That's yes.
Yeah, she
Yes,
knew how to pivot. You're like,
that's exactly it. I didn't write it for you. You, why are you wasting the energy tearing something apart if are you resentful because it wasn't written for you?
yeah.
Maybe but the intended audience is the people who receive it and who find something in it to inspire them, even if it just changes something small in their life. And that's true of any writer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't want to make a sweeping world change. You want to connect with someone nameless who reads your words and
Mm-hmm.
goes, "Oh," and then thinks about it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's really all we can ask for. Because writing is one of those arts where you do it and then you let it go. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can't control how people, well, like any art actually, you can't control how anyone interprets it and
Yeah.
internalizes it and thinks about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, yeah, I didn't write it for you. And yeah, it's
Wise advice too, just because everyone, if they've been an author before, and I don't have the privilege, so I can't compare in a way, but I truly understand that, especially what you have created in all of your books, that I have a few, but I don't
Oh
have
my
them
goodness.
all. And the fact is that it's sometimes not for everyone. And
No,
I don't mind if it's not for you, because maybe you're not my cup of tea and you don't like my style, and it's for someone else that needs it when they need it. And
exactly.
especially, I think you're the first person I found that does a witched book on self-care. And I think
There,
it's important to understand that things can bridge forms and change directions. And you are a new innovator in a different field in that regard, that you have now, it's topical, these things that need to be revisited and re-looked at in a modern concept. And so
integrated into the current climate and the current way we live. Yeah.
mhm. And I think it's important because it's a new scope. And in that, it can be daring enough to even go there. So having the courage to explore and put your elements, and every artist, I worked in the music industry for a long time. You no criticism when your precious little thing has come to the scene, that everyone do not read the comments.
Ever.
Do not in your time there, because it's just self-demuting and terrifying that all these tiny little internet trolls are, breaking your wheelhouse down to identify that they didn't like it. Did they do anything? Do you know anything about them? Don't worry about it, because maybe, as you said, it's not for you. I don't write the book for you. I didn't create my thing for you. Just making it out there is courage enough that I applaud a lot of people getting there. But my honor to have you today. And please, if you have a moment and you're looking to explore even the Green Witch, where you started, where all of these apply to Arin Murphy-Hiscock's book collection of the Green Witch, and her collection, including her oracle cards, if you feel like having a reading this year to figure out what your direction is from every aspect, including birding, if you're interested in getting to nature and herbs as well. So you can explore how to reconnect yourself with the nature-based spirituality to kind of make your awareness broader, that you are connected with nature and nature is a part of you. But thank you for teaching us and educating us all about our inner working and our spiritual practices today.
It has been a joy. Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to the Tranquility Magazine podcast. Please subscribe and add your questions to our Q&A. We want to give a thank you to our team for their effort in creating every episode and our content at tranquilitymagazine.com.